Hi, my name is Ramna. My personal blog is .netiq.com. You can follow my blog at facebook.com/.netiq. In this screencast, I'm covering the singleton design pattern, and also I'll compare the singleton versus static class, when to use the singleton and when to use the static class. As I mentioned, singleton is a design pattern. Basically, design pattern means it's a solution for known design problem. It's a readily available solution for the known design problem. Then what is the singleton exactly solving the design problem? If you see in general, if you create any instance, means if you want to access any method of a particular class, what we do is we create an instance for that class, and using that instance object reference we'll call the method. But take a situation, if you want only one instance of the object should be available globally to everyone to maintain the state of certain information. In that case, in general C# it's not possible. If you want to access any method, if you want to pass something to a particular method, you must create an instance for the class, and using that instance reference you need to call that method. So then how we can make only one instance of the object should be available for across the, at least if it is iOS application, at least for that Apple, for the app domain users, only one instance of that object should be available, and that object also is accessible globally to all the users for that box. Then in C# directly we cannot do. The solution is the singleton. Singleton provides a global single instance of the object. Here I am directly taking an example like employee service. I want to make my employee service as the singleton class. It has some few operations like adding employee and deleting employee, and it's a get employee by first name. These are the operations it provides. But I'm not maintaining the DB. I want to maintain my in process list of the employees. That means that whoever adding the employees in my box, I'm just adding to my list. That list is holding by one object instance. So if you have a multiple instances for the same class, that means each class have its own list. If you try to add, it's not a central kind of, it's not a globally one place you are maintaining the list. So basically I am maintaining the state of the employees, list of the employees. So in this class, just the employee service class, I am making as a singleton. Yeah, as I mentioned, singleton means only one instance of the object is globally available. So then that means that I need to restrict the users to create an instance of that object. So how we can restrict that creation of the object? If you make a constructor as a private, then it's automatically you are restricting the users to create instance of that object. So private constructor means you can create a object inside the same class only. That is the only possible. You can create instance for that class inside that class only. That's what. So to make your class as a singleton, the first important thing is you need to make your constructor as the private. The another thing is, as I mentioned, if you want to create instance for that object, the class, you need to create inside of that class only. So inside I am maintaining a static employee service, this variable. So I'm defining it as a static, and then how we access, how you access this class, because you are restricting the users to create an instance for the class. Then I'm providing a static method. This static method means it gives the instance of that my class. That means that whoever type my employee service dot, it automatically shows the static methods. What are the static methods existed? So I'm writing a static method instance. Inside that I'm checking that my private class variable, the same class variable, is it null or not. The very first instance, the first time it is going to be null. Then I am creating the instance for the same class, employee service, because since I am in the same class, inside the same class, so I can create the private constructor, private class object. So I am creating this and assigning this. Remember, this is a static variable. So we are holding this object reference in this instance variable. So whoever is asking the instance of this class, we are sharing the same variable. One time we are creating whenever it is null. The second time onwards, second request onwards, it is returning the same object. So when you get the object, the same object reference, then you can, using that object reference, you can call the methods whatever you have. And as I mentioned, this class, the behavior is to maintain the state, like list of the employees, like whoever adding the employees is going to maintain the list here. Whoever wants to search, it's going to search from this list, and whoever want to delete, it's going to delete from this. It's basically, instead of rather db, I'm maintaining all the employee details in my in process memory objects, list objects. So I define my private list employee list here, it's null. But in my private constructor, I am creating the list of employees. That means this private constructor calls only once. We have only one object is available, so you have only one list is available. So whoever is accessing this object, so they have the list of the employees. The added list of the employees is available for everyone. Everyone can add the list employee to the same list. Since it's only one object, it's a singleton class. So I just added, like add employee. I am passing the employee object and adding to the list. Here also I'm just passing the first name and employee, the same list. I'm trying to find all the first name contains this string. Suppose if I pass a 2-character, 3-character string, if in your first name anywhere this 3-character exists, you will get that result. It's a kind of like search. Okay. I will show you how we can call the singleton class. Here just I created an employee. My employee is, if you see my employee, it has a very simple, it has two properties. One is the first name and the another is the last name. Going back to programs class, yeah, I just created my 3 employee objects, like one employee emp with the first name Ramna, last name Kumar, the another employee emp1 with Rama and Kumar, the another one is Sairam and Kumar. So here I am just trying to create a singleton. I'm trying to access the singleton object reference, getting the singleton object reference, employee service dot instance. If you see here, I didn't create a new object. I didn't say new in employee service. If I just put a dot after the employee service, you will get all the static methods. The instance is a static method. What it does is, inside it creates the object for the employee service for a very first time, and it holds the reference of that object, and next time onwards for every request it gives the same object. So the employee service dot instance is giving the single object reference. I am adding the employee service add employee, I am calling twice and passing the different objects emp, emp1, emp2. Here I am trying to call a get employees by name. I am just passing the Ram. So since the Ram keyword is there in all 3 employees, I will get the 3 employees. Here I am look through that list of employees and just printing. It's not the, basically our intention is to how we create the singleton class. If I run this, see you got all the 3 whatever the employees you added, you got all 3 because all 3 has the Ram keyword in their first name. So this is fine. We means the employee services we created a singleton. Take a situation where if the multi-thread environment or the same time two requests are trying to access the employee service instance method. So there is a possibility of for the getting hold of the same method by 2 threads and see that instance equal to null. Then there is a possibility of creating the employee service 2 objects. Then our intention is not, our intention is to create only one object and provide the same object globally to all the requests. But if there is a possibility in the multi-thread environment or same 2 requests is trying to acquire the instance method and creating a 2 employee services objects, how we can restrict that? That we call it a thread safe singleton class. I will tell you how to. In thread safe singleton, you need to stop the other instance, like other request, to create the another instance of the class. So to do that, you need to lock whoever get the lock first time, they will create, and the second person will verify again if the object is already created, and then if you already created, you just leave from there and use that object. That's how we are doing. That's how we are going to do in basically in a thread safe singleton. So to lock to instead of locking the current thread, we will create a some object class, object instance. Every time I will lock the this object class rather the locking the current thread. So this is the I just define a private static read only object. I'm just using for the to lock that particular block of the code to create the instance of the this class. See here I'm doing lock sync root. See, suppose two requests are trying to acquire the means call the same method, the method at the same time. The first time it's instance equal to null, so one guy will get the means one guy will get a permission to go here in this piece of this block of the code. The another guy is waiting outside. So once this guy is created the instance, then he come out of that. The another guy will get a chance to get in the inside. Then the another guy is also possible of creating the instance of this employee service. To restrict that, one more time you need to check that instance equal to null. So the first guy will create the instance and use that object. The second guy once he come inside the lock, then he again is checking that instance equal to null. By the time already first guy is created the object, so this time instance is not null, so he will use the object whatever is created by the first guy. Using the lock and using the two times of the instance equal to null condition, and we can make sure that only the one instance of the object is created and is available globally. This we call as a thread safe singleton class. Yeah, coming to our the static class. The static class, basically the static class means inside the static class everything means each operation is the variable at class level, the variables whatever you want to use inside, everything should be the static. So means even the constructor is also static. The constructor, if you want to create in the constructor level variables, you cannot define, because you know the constructor itself you don't have the control when the constructor is going to invoke and when is the constructor is going to invoke and what time and what level. We really don't have that control. The CLR will do that. It's a lazily at the last moment it's going to create the instance of that static class. So basically the static class, it's everything is a static, so you don't really get a class behavior. Like in the class means once you create an object, you have the object instance. Using the object you can pass the local variables and pass the calling the different methods inside, and you know the class behavior is missing in the static class. The another thing is, if you want to really use the static class, we can use in the like utility classes, where you have a string has multiple utilities, like rename the string, something, whatever the utilities are commonly available, the same behavior if you want commonly available to across the application, then you can go with the static class. And also I can suggest like a static class, if you have some configuration information, like if you have a XML which is holding some configuration information, the detail is always the constant. If you want to provide to everyone everyone in across the box, that means it globally provide that configuration information, then I recommend that go with the static class. Where you want to maintain a state information, like you know, as I mentioned, I use Singleton many times in my projects, where I want to, like you know, I have a few places I will use the publisher subscriber model. Like you know, subscribers will subscribe with the certain criteria, certain group of people. Then I need to maintain their subscription details. I need to maintain their active status. While at the time of pushing, I need to each subscriber. So I need to maintain some common like global place for all the subscriber details along with their subscriptions. And using that information, I can publish the data. At the same time, if any subscriber unsubscribing, then I need to unsubscribe from the same global the place where I am maintaining the global list. So in those cases, I use the Singleton, and even in Singleton, if you want, you can use it in like you know logging related logging function or logging utility logging class, and some DB related classes also you can write it, rather creating the multiple objects for every DB operation. If you want to call some DB operation for every request, rather creating a instance of that object and calling the method, you can create a singleton object, and you can means you can call the operations. You can means you can save some bytes of memory, creating for every time for every method call, creating instance of object. You can go with the singleton. There also we can use the singleton. I hope I covered the singleton and versus static classes and how to implement the singleton. In my next screencast, I will come up with a new another design pattern. Thank you. Bye.